morning, Brian. How are you?
Good morning, Patty.
Brian, I don't think we've asked you, and I apologize, my camera doesn't seem to be working this morning, so I apologize for that. But can you talk a little bit about the special teams play? It looks like it's been really good this season, and I don't think we've talked a whole lot about it.
Yeah, they've been very impactful for us. The special teams units really in every area: punt, return, kickoff, return, field goal, block. I think our coaches, Goby and Cam and Stephen Thomas, have really done a good job with these guys, and these guys have bought into how important it is for our football team. They're playing with high energy, high effort, and they've done a nice job for us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Brian Donlevy.
Hey, Dabes.
Good morning,
Ryan. We've talked a lot about like Scattaboo and Dart's ability and their edge. You know that saying, like, they don't know what they don't know? I'm wondering if there's a level of like naivete or innocence with those two that it has rubbed off on a locker room of a lot of good veteran players, but they've been through a lot of losses that these two kids haven't and don't really care about.
Yeah, I don't know if I would use that word. I would just say that they're very competitive individuals who have a lot of pride, toughness, and belief in themselves. And I think that's important for any team when you have players like that. I know they're two rookies. We have a number of other rookies that I feel are in a similar situation relative to how they compete and what they do to prepare and how they go about and play. So, I mean, those two guys, they care about their teammates. They prepare very diligently, and I trust them a lot out on the field.
And then from a standpoint of, I'm curious, maybe this is packing a lot into a second question, but what'd you think of your play on both sides of the line of scrimmage? And assuming you thought it was pretty good like I did, how significant is that to do against that team? Because the Eagles and Cowboys specifically have kind of dominated the Giants on the line of scrimmage on both sides for a long time. So to have that performance, offensive line, defensive line, against that team, that's their identity.
Yeah, I would say we're focused on our identity of playing a physical brand of football, and that's, it starts up front on both lines of scrimmages. But I thought the DBs forced, the receivers blocked, but it does start up front. And, to be able to run the ball like that and, make some little adjustments here and they get a couple runs on us early in the game. But, that's the way we want to play. We want to play physical. We want to try to control the line of scrimmage. It's a very important part of the game, and we need to continue to do that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Dan Duggan.
Hey, Brian. Just wondering, have you heard from the league about the sideline scene with Jackson in the tent?
Yeah, I haven't, but I'll say this. Like I said last night, I went in didn't actually go in, just stuck my head in to see how our quarterback was doing. Just asked him how you're doing. In no way would I want a player to come back out there that wasn't ready to play. I think I have great respect for that process. I know John is on the competition committee relative to health and safety. That's very important to him. We've spoke about that. I was wondering if it took 10 minutes, if it takes an hour, if it takes 2 minutes. That's really where I was with asking the question that I asked when I was on the sideline to make a decision on, the game. But health and safety is important to us. It's important to me. And that's what I'll say with that.
Is there any explicit rule about the coaches not being allowed in the tent? Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into that. I do have respect for the process. I peeked in for a couple seconds to see how a player that's important to us, important to me, how he was doing. It was a 2-second question, how you doing, bud? And then relative to the questions I had for our team physician was more, how long is it going to be? And however long it's going to be is how long it's going to be. relative to making a game time decision. So that's important. Health and safety is important. I know it's important to John Mara, and we'll abide by all those rules.
One more, switching gears. There's a lot of attention on that cornerback rotation. What made you just stick with Flott last night?
Yeah, part of it was our game plan of what we were going to do. Still have confidence in Tay, but just going into the game, really at the start of the week, that's the plan that we did have. It could change next week based on what we're doing or how we're doing it. And Flott did a really good job for us. Made a huge play. So that was leading up to the week, Dan.
Thanks.
Yep. Thank you.
Rock.
Brian, getting back to Cam and Dart a little bit. Every year you've been on a lot of teams, I'm sure, where rookies contribute and they add to the offense and they add to the productivity. How rare is it for rookies to come in and sort of become the identity of a team like these two seem to have?
Well, like I said last night, Tom, this is a collective team win. Everybody contributed. I know there's been a lot made because he is your starting quarterback, and Cam plays with a certain edge and a style. But this was a team win. They're part of it. Obviously, quarterback touches the ball on every play, and he's done a nice job since he's been in there. Cam has executed his role, but there's a lot of other people that contribute to the outcome of this game. Burns had a lot of guys played well. I respect the question. I have a lot of faith in those two young guys. I think that's well documented. Abdul, young guys, but I want to focus more on our football team, and I know that's how they would want it too. Do their job. Lunch pail mentality. Improve on the things that they can improve on. But they play with an edge and they play with a style that, we want our team to play with.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
We have a lot of hands raised, so please keep it to one question and we will come back to you if there's time. Evan Barnes.
Daves, I'll follow Maddie's advice and keep it quick. Brian Burns, you've obviously been really high on him. You've been high on what he's brought since the training camp. Just after those 2 sacks, but more importantly, how he got those 2 sacks on third down, what are you seeing from him as far as just his leadership setting a tone on the field, not just in practice in his walk and his talk?
Yeah, he's really shown that since he's come back in the off-season program and, taken a step to me in terms of, his leadership, his example, his practice habits, his effort, his hustle, things that he can control that really take no talent. And then you add his talent, and he's got very good talent. I think that people look up to him, how he does things besides the talent. He's in the kickoff huddle almost every time, encouraging those guys. And, Patty asked that question, when you have a guy like Burns or Roy who's in there, I think that shows that they're really good teammates and understand that it takes a lot of people to be successful in a game. And I think Brian is a true definition of, what it means to be a leader. He does all the right things and he's talented. So when you have your talented players and, some of your better players do things that, that help the team, not just with their talent, but with their leadership and how they go about their business, I think that sets a very good example for, the rest of the team, including the young guys that Tom asked about. They get to see someone like that, that does have talent, that's been in this league, that's been productive, but is going out there and practicing the way he practices and running to the ball the way he runs to the ball and, making plays in critical moments. We could use all of that as we can.
Thank you.
Yep.
Art Stapleton.
Hey, Daves.
Morning, Art.
When you look, you talked a lot about short week and the preparation and not having full practices and just walkthroughs and guys just it's cramming a lot into several days' work. And then you see the wrinkles that came out last night that you showed us a lot for the first time on both sides of the ball. I'm curious, what do you attribute that to? I know you mentioned about your staff and the long hours in the office, but to have the confidence to be able to not only put that in the game plan really for some of the first time and then to trust the players to execute, how do you describe that? What do you attribute that to as far as being able to not only put it in but execute it at a high level?
Yeah, well, I have confidence in the guys on our football team and confidence in our staff. And, when we started, I'd say a long plane trip back from New Orleans, we were really on to this week. And again, I credit the leadership from the coordinators to the position coaches to, putting together, what we needed to do for that particular game. I think you balance that, Art, with, short, so you don't want to add too much, but, we have enough in each area that we can add some things. And then we did a little bit of a different meeting time and extra walkthroughs. I thought we needed it, and they were dialed in on those. They were dialed in on them. We gave more time to each area, special teams, defense, offense. So they had a little bit more time to go through that. I thought the guys were dialed in at the walkthroughs. We got a lot of reps, even though they were walkthroughs. We got a lot of reps, in the 3 kind of practices that we did have, and the guys were dialed in with them. So if we walked through some things that were new that just took 3 or 4 times to get it done, maybe we scrapped that. Or if we thought it was going to be good, we walked through it a few more times to make sure that we felt comfortable calling it. And I thought the coordinators did a good job of calling the game, of being prepared, and then most importantly having their players prepared, as did the position coaches. So, again, there was a lot of time spent here, a lot of work put into it, both from the assistant coaches and the players. And that's why I'm very happy for both of those groups, the coaches and the players, because I saw the work they put into it, the extra meetings the players had, the coaches, the communication that goes into it. And it was good to see that, get the outcome that we so desired.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Yep.
We'll take 3 more. Paul Schwartz.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, you've as a head coach, you have to deal with a lot. You've had to deal with picking guys up and picking the team up after losses when everyone's down. Adversity. What about now? What about when guys are feeling good? There's some prosperity. There's some success. I mean, in keeping it in reason, but everyone felt great about what happened last night. Dealing with that and having your team handle success and prosperity and excitement. Is that also a challenge moving forward?
Yeah, again, I have a lot of confidence in our guys, the players and the coaches. Again, we understand this is a 1-week league, Paul. There's things that come each week where you say, oh man, you got to do a good job of staying consistent when they come in the building. Here are the things that went well. Here are the things that we need to get fixed or it's going to cost us. I think the players are learning that, as we go, particularly our young guys. But I think they have a level head, and they're all about ball. So we know that one game has no reflection on the next game. If you go out there and turn the ball over 5 times, you're not going to have much success, regardless of the other things that happen. If you go play a clean game, you give yourself a chance. It doesn't guarantee it. And then you have to make the extra plays that you need to make in those games to give yourself a chance. You have to be able to get an interception when they're driving down after a play. You have to execute in the red zone. You have to, stay committed to the run game on both sides of the ball of affecting, I'd say, the line of scrimmage in a positive way. You have to do those things, and this, and everybody knows this. You have to do those things that give you a chance to win, and then you have to make the extra play. I'd say, losing sucks, winning is a lot better, but again, it doesn't have any bearing on what you have to do to get ready to play the next week. You have to prepare the right way. You have to go out there and you have to execute and do a good job of coaching and all those type of things. So my focus is going to be get us ready to go for next week. Learn from the things that we can learn from here over the last couple games, and do everything we can do to put ourselves in the best possible position next Sunday.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Mark Cannizzaro.
Hey, Dabes.
Hey, Mark.
I'm just curious. It's obvious the energy that Dart has brought to your room and to the stadium. Obviously since he's had the 2 stadium starts. You've always been very attached before you got here to Josh up in Buffalo, and I'm just curious. I'm not asking in any way physically the way they play or anything like that. I'm not looking for comparisons that way. I'm just curious about the whole vibe in Buffalo when Josh came around. If there are any similarities at all, just with the energy, that he brought to that place, in relation to what Jackson's brought here.
Yeah, Mark, I appreciate that question. What I don't want to do is put anybody into a box. This person's like this person. I understand the question completely. I think Jackson is in a different situation. He's his own guy. I obviously have a tremendous amount of respect for Josh Allen, and grateful for the years that I've had an opportunity to work for him. And now I'm grateful for the opportunities I have to work with Jackson. This guy's all football. He's very level-headed, but he's a fiery competitor, which I appreciate. He's humble. He's also very humble. He knows that there's plenty of things that we need to work on to continue to get better, and that each week it's going to get more difficult based on the more tape we have out there, the more they're going to do. We know there's ups and downs. I've said it. I know it's a broken record, but I think he understands all those things. And, I think the thing that his teammates appreciate about him is he is humble. He does work hard. He does listen to, the older veterans on the team, but he is his own personality, and I don't think he's afraid to show that. And that's what I appreciate about him. Long road ahead, a lot of work to be done, but no one I'd rather do it with than him.
Thanks.
Yep.
Last one, Jordan Renan.
Hey, Brian, how we doing this morning?
Morning, Jordan.
No, when guys get tested for concussion, they have to do it again in the morning. Jackson is all right today?
Yeah, I haven't. I'm gonna go meet with everybody here. He was in. I know he's been in early, watching tape. So, we'll go through that. We'll go through the rest of that, procedure and see where we're at after these next few days.
And then Brian Burns, what do you think of him? He said he, called the players only defensive meeting, and he felt it in his heart that he wanted to get some things off his chest and sort of get the details right.
Yeah, look, those guys work extremely hard. The players. I mean, there's a lot of times where players are just meeting on their own, and I think that's important to develop that communication that you need to have. But again, with Burns, I just say he's been a very good leader for us, Jordan. I know I answered the question earlier with it. Got a lot of respect for him and, what he's done this year for us, and we're going to need to continue to get that from him.